Originally, I was born and then lived in Claymont for 5 years. Then I moved to West Center City, and that's where the majority of my childhood was spent. So it was me, my mother, my brother's 13 years older. Shout out to my big brother, Shannon. He helped me a lot become the man that I am. He paid a significant portion of my education to go to private school, Sanford and St. Mark's. And he was one of the co-founders of my first nonprofit, Delaware Elite, with my best friend, Eugene Young. So my childhood was, I would say that as I look back on it, it was what was needed for me to be where I am today. When we talk about my childhood, my grandfather played a big part. He was one of the biggest pastors and community leaders and civil rights leaders in this city of Wilmington. So big that when Reverend Jesse Jackson came to town and there was a march, and he would stay at my grandfather's house. You know, I read recently there was a tribute to my grandfather when he passed that was read on the Congress floor. And it talked about all that he did. And when I read it, I don't know, I kind of like went into shock and got the chills because everything he did, I'm doing now. I think my grandfather is looking down on me. He's really proud of what I'm doing, but he's disappointed that I have to do it. I mean, he was doing this work back in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and here we are in 2022, and we haven't seen much change. It's sad to say we are where we are, but I think that everything that's culminated over the past couple of years has really propelled us forward in terms of awakening people's minds and hearts and to support endeavors like ours. So we have garnered more support over the past year or two than I could ever imagine. And it's really helped us accelerate the work that we're doing in the Riverside neighborhood in Northeast Wilmington. Hi, Mom. Seriously. Mom,
Hi, babe. You can pick me up at 2:15.
Can you just meet us over there? I'm in the middle of filming right now.
Oh.
At the work group, we have core values, and one of the core values is when, not if. You will never hear me say if something happens. My mother never allowed in our household for me to say if. It's when something happens. And there's a power in the tongue, and we have to speak things into existence. In 2014, my board chair of Reach Riverside, Charlie McDowell, was the board chair of Eastside Charter School, and he was getting frustrated with the performance of the school. Then he read about purpose-built communities in Atlanta, Georgia. He went to visit, and he took our now mayor, Mike Przicki, with him, and Robbie Cheney, our biggest developer. And what they saw, they were amazed and astounded and said, we got to do this in Riverside neighborhood. We started Reach Riverside, we started the warehouse, and we came up with this crazy idea to bring all three together. And that was the birth of the work group, which we affectionately call the Warehouse, Reach Riverside, and Kingswood collectively. Riverside is a wonderful community, rich with history, families, but it faces its challenges. And those challenges that Riverside faces is not because of the things that the people in Riverside have done to themselves. So I want to be clear about that. Riverside was originally built for World War II veterans, white World War II veterans, returning home from war. And because this country supported generational wealth for white families, blacks were stripped of that American dream. We did not create these circumstances. We are trying to survive, and I say that intentionally, survive the circumstances, the hand that we are dealt. And Riverside in the future is going to be a thriving neighborhood where everyone is going to be prospering, and that's what I'm excited about. Being a dad, it's the most rewarding thing that I can do. And so the work that I do is partially because I want to make sure that I provide the best possible life for my little son, LJ. You know, as special as I think my son is, I think every parent thinks their kids are just as special, and they are. So the same things I want for LJ, I want for every single kid in the Riverside neighborhood in Northeast Wilmington, and I won't stop until they get that.